Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm Eddie Childs. I'm the VP of Growth Marketing with Precision Local and MG Global Solutions. And thanks for joining us today. Today we've got Justin Kahan and Tyreek Minor. Justin is our Director of Channel Marketing, and Tyreek is our Director of Corporate Marketing, and they're going to walk you through HVAC growth planning in 2026. Thanks for joining us. I see we have partners from all the way from up in Canada down to Florida, so it's great. And I'm seeing a lot of faces that we met at Lennox Live Anaheim and Lennox Live New Orleans. So nice to see everybody again, and thanks for joining us. Now I'm going to hand it off to Justin, who's going to get us started. Justin.
Yeah, thanks, and appreciate the warm intro, Eddie. And again, everybody, thank you for joining. Really, the goal over the next 45 minutes or so is to provide you guys some actionable takeaways that you can implement in your business and some key learnings to what we're seeing happening within the HVAC space. But before we do that, I'd like to kind of talk a little bit about who we are, so you guys get an understanding. We are Precision Local, the newest preferred vendor in the Lennox space. We've been in business for almost 10 years now, solely focused on HVAC, HVAC contractors, and helping them grow their business. So, as a comprehensive agency, we're going to focus on looking at the best channels, tactics, tools that really will help drive your business, whether that's traditional media or digital media. Our team will evaluate each option and make sure it's the right fit for you, making sure that we utilize any co-op funds to the fullest extent, maximizing those, and providing industry best service. So one of the things we've always prided ourselves on as an agency is our customer service and our education. So that's part of the reason that we do these webinars. So we're really happy to be here, and hopefully there's some great takeaways that you guys get throughout the next 45 minutes or so. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Tyreek. He's going to kind of walk through what today's agenda looks like.
Yeah, I will. I know. But just before that, man, guys, we want to say we appreciate you joining. We know it's peak season, right? You guys, this time extremely valuable right now. You guys are really, really busy. So thanks for just taking a moment to sit here with us and listen to what we have to say, right? Um, I also want to lean a little bit just quickly on kind of our unique background, Justin. I don't know, man. How long have you been in this space, man? How long have you been with Precision Local?
I've been with Precision Local since our inception back in 2018, but really
Okay.
been doing HVAC marketing for almost 12, 13 years at this point. So really versed in the space, contractors, pain points, seasonality, understanding like you guys are busy, so there's channels that we have to pull and utilize now, and there's some that we maybe need to throttle back on because of the current demand in market.
Yeah, and we certainly lean on that 12, 13 year experience, man. I mean, for me, I've only been with PL. I've been with Precision Local now for just a little over a year, but I've been in like B2B, the B2B marketing space for almost a decade now. And then the 4 years prior, I was like many of you on the call, man. I was actually a HVAC like tech and an installer with my former father-in-law's company here in Tampa, Florida. So grizzled and then and got all the sunburn and all that stuff. But now I'm in house and doing this marketing thing. So I think that that really lends to what we do here at PO, right, and how we go about it. We have again a very unique skill set and kind of like a really cool background and how we actually come about and bring knowledge to and then service our clients, man. But let's go ahead and get into it. Let's talk a little bit about what we kind of want to walk through here. So just a quick agenda overview. We've got 5 sections today. We're going to move with a little bit of purpose. Okay. So section one, we're actually going to cover the 4 types of HVAC buyers and how we're going to win each one. Right. So we're going to get into very strategic and very tactical in that section, including obviously the actual profile fit for each one of those 4 buyers. Section two is where things are going to get kind of interesting. We're going to break down how AI is kind of reshaping search right now. You probably have heard a ton about that already, but we're going to get into a little bit of myth busting, but also getting very like dialed in into where the market currently sits and how we can keep you guys visible in that area. Section three, we're going to cover some competitive tactics that build like a real moat, right? And how you can actually gain an advantage against your competitors. Section four, we're going to talk about activating that gold mine that you already have, right? So that's your existing customer database. And then finally, we'll close with kind of like a Q&A. We'll kind of dedicate some time to there. Please feel free to drop any of the questions you have in the chat throughout. And then Justin, myself, and Eddie will be monitoring that, and we'll address the questions at the end. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Justin, go ahead and talk to us a little bit about this HVAC buyer journey, man, and how we're going to win each one.
Yeah, of course. So the way that we look at it, you have four different types of buyer personas kind of in market. The first and foremost being the one you're probably most familiar with. This is your reactive buyer. This is the individual that came home after a long day of work and their AC isn't working. It's 90 degrees. The first thing that they're going to do, they're going to turn to their phone. They're going to search for HVAC repair near me, and they're going to click on the first person they see, and hopefully the first person that answers the phone versus doing a lot of back end research. Time of need, you guys are very familiar with this. The secondary buyer that we look at is more of our proactive buyer. This is a more educated consumer who understands their system is probably coming of age and they start to do research around what the best system is, who's the best provider. So these are really your proactive individuals. Then we look at your dormant or activated ones. These are ones that aren't in market, don't think they need to be in market, but can be shown your advertising, your branding through some specific channels that may spark that fire or light that funnel to start doing some research. And then the last one, but certainly not least, is your brand loyal buyers. These are the ones that you've already done work for. These are the ones that know your services. They know your brand. They know the Lennox brand, and they're loyal to that. So they're going to keep coming back to you. This is that gold mine, that database that we were talking about. This is where this really comes into play. So as we kind of talk through the rest of the information today, really kind of ask yourself which one of these segments are you guys marketing to currently? And there's no right, wrong, or indifferent version, but really we should be trying to touch all four through our marketing tactics.
Yeah, you're really right about that, Justin. I mean, each one of these buyers, right, not only are their own on their own journey, but they really have their own like psyche, their own psychology to them, right? I mean, I probably just my speaking for myself, I probably sit in kind of like the brand loyal. Like I said, my former father-in-law and his now he's passed it on to his sister. They still have, right, their HVAC company. So that's the people I'm gonna like lean on. However, there's been times where especially living in Florida, like I've been in that reactive state, right? Where I got home after work, or I come home with my kids, and oh my gosh, it's 88 degrees in the house. Look, I need to find someone really, really quickly. I'm going to go to my phone. I'm going to Google AC repair immediately near me, and I'm going to make a call, right? So that's how it's going to work. Um, but what's interesting, like I said, is that there are different psychologies for each one of these groups. And I think now you can probably help explain a little bit about how we can touch and kind of like reach out to each one of those groups. So I'll let you kind of continue.
Yeah, of course. Thanks. So looking at each one of the groupings and looking at kind of channels that we can lean on, your reactive buyer, like we talked about, this is the ones that just came home. It's really uncomfortable. Uh, they're turning to their phone, and that's where your Google ads, your Google local service ads, and making sure like your SEO on your website is focused on kind of repair language and terminology. This is where those channels are paramount. They're key. As we move into more of your proactive, this is a combination. So your Google Ads, your LSA definitely will play a part in it, but it's also looking at other platforms that maybe could provide services like your Angie's List, your Thumbtack, your Yelp. This is where those buyers are doing even more research, and this is where maybe your reviews come into a larger part of the strategy. Then we look at that dormant activated. This is where we throw a branding campaign out there, whether it's TV, billboards, radio. They heard the brand, they heard the name. They're like, oh yeah, maybe I need to start looking into this for myself. Then brand loyal. This is your database. This is the ones you guys are already familiar with. You've already done the hard work of getting into their home. It's making sure that you stay in front of them. There's tactics that'll do that, like email, SMS, and we're going to dive into kind of how to activate that database a little bit further into this presentation. But it's definitely one of the ways that we can go about creating that brand loyal follower or buyer.
Yeah. Justin, can we go back for a moment? Because it's that dormant and like activated segment that's really interesting to me, right? As we kind of get into, we're in the midst of summer right now, and then we're kind of moving into the fall. Those dormant buyers, those may be folks that, hey, we don't have an immediate need, but how do you kind of, I guess, how do you utilize these channels to get those people from dormant to actually activated? I know you're talking about some more like traditional media. You might even be talking about like direct mail, but kind of
Yep.
talk about how those things are effective for that particular segment.
Yeah, so when we look at the those channels, whether it's your traditional TV or your connected TV, digital, or even direct mail, it's really making sure that there is a strong call to action, leveraging any of the available promotions, because that's what's going to kind of spark that interest and turn that I wasn't in the market buyer into somebody that's starting to do the research. So if you can really get in front of them with either a promotion or some sort of informational collateral, that's going to kind of swing the tides more into your direction.
Yeah, and that really widens like your market too, right? I mean, there's of course we want to
100%.
win all those folks that are reacting very quickly to, some type of like at-home event, right? Like I said, it's really hot in their house when they get home or something like that. And then you have your customer base, that's your brand loyal folks.
Mhm.
But it sounds like traditional media and kind of operating in those channels really allows for you to, again, that widen that market. These are folks that may not be aware of who you are, right? May not be aware of your brand, but this is kind of like a way to get in front of them, right? And kind of like stay in front of them, just in case when they are activated, you're the first person they call. Am I summarizing that correctly?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we've seen this time and time again where dealers, contractors that utilize branding campaigns and tactics like that, their Google ads or Google PPC, their LSA perform at a higher level than those that do not. So trying to always keep the brands present is really the paramount point
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. One last thing, and we haven't mentioned there in the speed to lead that really applies, right, to both proactive and the reactive segments, right? Just
100%.
just dive a little bit like with that speed to lead, Eddie, maybe you can even chime in here too. We know that the person that answers that call first and can actually get, someone out, they win. I think it was something like, what was it, like 78% of the time? I
Yeah.
might be misremembering that number, but I know it's like that speed to lead portion is really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 78% of the time the first responder wins the lead because you tend to compare your the other providers that you're shopping to that original one, their value propositions, their price points, and you tend to win. And then also, particularly if they are in that first mindset, like a reactive mindset where they're in a distressed purchasing decision, this goes all the way back to, when someone is searching for HVAC services, they're searching for someone to immediately solve their problem. So they'll call everybody in the Google local map pack pretty often, and the first person to pick up the phone and be able to roll a truck tends to win. So
Yeah.
that's just something to keep in mind, that really your ability to handle these leads and activate a solution to that customer's problem quickly is really your quickest path to realizing revenue from leads and marketing.
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense, right? Like, let's just think about it. If I'm really, really uncomfortable, who's going to get me as like, comfortable as quickly as possible? So that's the
That's right.
person I'm going to go with, right? Just makes
And in
sense.
these shared lead platforms, the other thing to keep in mind is the leads are going to pretty often with Angie, Thumbtack, Yelp. They're a layer that sits on top of your SEO, your Google local service ads, and your paid search ads. Those are the foundation, the ones that but if you're trying to increase your lead volume and go after people that are more affluent and they're shopping all these different venues, and they're looking to engage with multiple providers through these platforms, Angie, Thumbtack, Yelp, and get estimates. Well, those are what I mean. Every contractor wants install leads, right? That's what everybody wants. But we're seeing more and more people are shopping multiple providers, and you have open estimates open for a lot longer. That's what's going on is people are reaching out to multiple providers, and the first one who responds, even through those shared lead platforms, tends to be the one who wins the lead. So your lead handling practices and your ability to get after those leads quickly really translates to your close rates and how quickly you can book revenue through these platforms.
Spot on.
Yeah. All right, let's go to our next section here. These platforms are obviously at play, but we know that there is a real shift happening, and it's kind of disrupting the our market and really disrupting, I guess, or changing, morphing, right? How we're being found, ultimately, like visibility, right? So we're here. This next section really going to focus on that. AI is not necessarily like a future trend. It's really activating currently, and actively changing how homeowners find HVAC contractors like you all. Um, and most of what people believe about about SEO, it's they've had to shift their mindset a little bit, right? So we're going to show you what's actually happening in that market, what the data is actually saying, what it's speaking to, and what it kind of means for your business. So this is the kind of like AI search shift that we see, right? So tools like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Copilot, Gemini, they are reshaping how people are discovering answers, right? And ultimately discovering who they want to put their faith in and actually service them. So these actual like platforms, they're really prioritizing very like trusted, structured content. And what we're seeing is take effect is actually kind of reducing those traditional kind of like blue link searches that they see in any type of like Google search, right? So SEO now means optimizing for answers and not just rankings. Okay. So the data you see right now is actually delivered from April 2026, and it very tells a pretty clear story, right? ChatGPT still commands like the lion's share of this LLM and AI market share, right? Particularly when it comes to home services searches. So we see pretty distantly Google Gemini is about 8%, Perplexity and Copilot are kind of like in these low single digit areas, and then Claude's probably under 1%, right? So what does this mean? Homeowners, I mean, they're increasingly starting to, search for contractors or home services companies, not just on Google, but in an AI chat kind of like interface, right? So they might be moving on. They're not necessarily no longer, I guess, typing, say, best HVAC company near me, how they would in Google. But they might be asking like, who should I call for an AC repair in Tampa? Uh, why is one of my rooms extremely hot while another part of my actual like house is very cool? Um, and they're looking for answers, and sometimes coupled with those answers are suggestions for actual contractors to come help with your problem, right? So LLMs, like you see on the screen here, they're really summarizing those results instead of listing links. So we're going to see probably some more traditional like click-through traffic is going to decline. And when I say click-through traffic, that is specifically from on like a Google results page. And we really are moving towards what we call answer optimization, which is getting your business actually cited in the AI's response. So how do we do that? Well, that visibility is going to be really tied to and really dependent on you creating very like trusted, structured content, right? And Google is just no longer the only gatekeeper. So for any TMs that are in the room, I mean, this may affect what dealers are winning in your markets. And the ones who kind of like understand this shift, I mean, they really have an opportunity to pull ahead like very quickly here. Now, let's talk about traffic projections for these LLMs. Okay, so this is kind of based on SEMrush. They're one of the most trusted SEO platforms in the industry, and it shows a pretty sharp trajectory. So search traffic is on pace to overtake Google by 2027. That is absolutely critical to know. That shift is already starting. So while Google is still dominant, and we're going to show even more evidence of that in the next slides here, um, there is an opportunity window that's happening right now that early adopters who are going to, and I'm borrowing from Eddie here, kind of like diversify their portfolio, right? Um, they're going to get an upper hand, right, in a kind of like under monetized space. I think another analogy, Eddie, you kind of go with that's really funny. It's like when everyone transitioned from MySpace to Facebook, like it didn't just happen like immediately. Like we both spent a little bit more time on Facebook, and it happened gradually. That shift happened very gradually, right? Um, and that's what I kind of feel about this particular time when it comes to Google search versus like AI search. Am I getting that? Am I getting that right?
Well, yeah, and then there was sort of a tipping point, right, where everybody just stopped using MySpace entirely. And when I talk about this in like live kind of like conferences and things like that. I asked people to raise their hand. It was like, okay, do we all call each other and say, hey, let's stop using MySpace, let's start using Facebook. And like we all did that, right? And everybody looks around, they're like start laughing. And it's like, right, no, nobody did that. It just sort of happened. We like there was just a switch that went off as a society, and everybody just one day stopped using MySpace and started using Facebook. And the same thing happened with Google back in the 2000s. Before that, people were using an array of search engines that encompass things like Ask Jeeves and Yahoo and whatever. And now it's really kind of narrowed down to Google and Bing, for the most part. And that's basically what happens. So people don't really make these decisions in a vacuum, but then it's sort of like the whole society trends in one direction, and just one day everybody starts using the new technology. The tools are probably going to force it on us anyway. Like Google
Yeah.
will eventually just transition the search box to being like an AI like a powered tool, and then traditional search will just kind of go away probably. But um, that's sort of what is happening here.
I think that's like a really key part of this, Eddie, is that I don't think one, Google's not allowed for their platform to be like completely like obsolete, right? They will shift with the market. They are going to just turn to start using or providing like these AI overviews like we see right now. They're going to stay just as much on pace as anything else, right?
Well, yeah,
They
and
will,
that's a good point. People don't even realize they're using AI search half the time when
right?
it's another thing. The AI overviews will appear on the top of a lot of searches. Now they don't appear on low funnel, like near me searches, like HVAC, air conditioning repair near me. They don't appear there. Those are LSAs in that area, and then it's the Google local map pack. But the ones that are upstream from, who's the best provider in my area, stuff that's more like, why won't my air conditioner get below 78 degrees? Those get an AI overview, and then people will actually click on the learn more. Boom, they're in Google AI mode, and they're actually interacting with Gemini or like a permutation of Gemini right there in the browser. So a lot of people are doing AI search and they don't even realize they're doing it, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. But to that point, I think it's really important to state, right? And it goes to like the final point that we have on the slide here. Um, you want to diversify and you want to, kind of stay ahead of your competitors and get involved with, being found via AI search. But we don't want to abandon, what we're doing from an SEO perspective and being found on any of those like search and Google search results pages, right? You still want to appear there. It would just not be a good idea for us to cast away or de-invest in the things that have gotten us to the point where we are now, right? Um, those things are still at play. And in fact, I would say that the same strategies that we're employing and we're like for like to be found via those like results pages, those same factors are probably affecting us being found and cited in any like AI search results as well. So please,
Yeah.
like, do not take what we're saying as like, okay, we go. It's time for us to make like a full shift, right? And now we're only going on Facebook. Like, no, it's a gradual thing, and let's keep at what we're currently doing. Let's just add on top of that portfolio.
Yeah, and this is something we've been talking about internally now for probably the greater part of a year and a half, 2 years, is how do we optimize our dealer campaigns for this proposed AI shift that we're seeing happen? We're seeing it happen fast. So to Tyreek's point, we keep what we're doing. That's not the messaging here, but now we need to complement with some other strategies, some other tools, but also keep in the back of our minds that we have to remain nimble.
Right,
The
right.
marketing landscape and ecosystem is shifting, it's changing, and it does move fast. So what we're doing now, maybe 6 months down the road, we're gonna have to put some other tactics in place. So that's why partnering with someone like us or other individuals in the space really kind of helps set you guys up for a clear trajectory moving into the next 6 months, year, 18 months, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, and frankly, like it's kind of going back to the beginning of our presentation. AI is not going to help necessarily. You know, how we attract all of those buyers and the journeys that we mentioned, before, right? like
Mhm.
sort of kind of like online searches or AI searches. But there's other segments out there that, AI can assist, but we're not going to lean on to kind of like touch, right?
Yeah.
Um, Now that said, I mean, AI search is paying off from what we've seen, right? So these are just some data points that that we came across. And it should get a lot of attention from you guys. I think, ChatGPT referred leads, I mean, they're generating an average ticket value of about $5,500. Um, and that's from just from October in 2025. So, that number is expected to grow as other like LLMs like Gemini, Perplexity, and Copilot catch up in 2026. Um, and these aren't just like small repair calls either. These are replacement leads, high-end installs. So, you know, the thing about this like customer profile is that, these AI users tend to be a little bit more like research oriented, they're a little bit more deliberate. And because of that, that typically means like a higher ticket value. So what do we actually want to do about this, right? Well, four things really. I mean, the first thing is we're going to optimize for AI citation. So we can help with a lot of this, right, Justin? I mean, we can
Yeah.
create structured content that AI systems can find, trust, and then ultimately like recommend to homeowners. But also on top of that, we can, build transparent like service pages, whether that be like a pricing ranges page, the service areas. So we really lean on that, creating like specific like
Location level pages.
yeah,
Yeah.
location pages. That's really, really important. Your availability and everything like clearly written out because this is a bot reading, right? And we want to make sure that we structure all of our content to be very, very easily
Yeah.
read, legible to any of these bots. Third, can't like emphasize this enough. Earn reviews everywhere. That volume, the recency, the quality of those reviews. Those are trust signals that LLMs like really, really rely on for recommendation. And then, fourth, just stay active on your like key directories, right? So your Google business profile, that's your Yelp, anywhere that you are, anywhere that your business is really like really showcased, make sure that you stay active there. Because LLMs are going to pull from those data points as well to show that you're credible, that you're respected, that you're trusted, and that you might be easily showcased there. And none of these really are that expensive or complex. So it's just about like being really consistent and disciplined, right?
Probably
Yeah, and we'll
worth also
piggyback on
noting.
this. Sorry. So we're going to piggyback on this a little bit later too, really focusing on like the importance of reviews
Mhm.
specifically, which probably is not new to most individuals on this call. Reviews have always been important, even in the Google landscape, but even more important now that it's pulling into the LLM. So we'll talk about how we can kind of optimize those too.
Just final thought. It's probably worth also noting that just earlier this month, Google came out with new guidance that said that generative engine optimization, so all the stuff that's listed here that will get you found by an AI search engine, it's not actually its own discipline. Google's point of view. It is indistinguishable from search engine optimization. It is just a subcategory of SEO. So a lot of the things, pretty much everything listed on this page that is going to drive an outcome in an AI search engine, these are just core SEO best practices. Just they're measured in a different way, right? Like how do they get surfaced in an AI tool like
Mhm.
ChatGPT? But ultimately, these are best practices that are going to drive visibility even in a traditional search engine. So really, a game plan for search is in many ways the same as your game plan for like large language models.
Mhm.
Yeah. And Eddie, no mistake, we have some pretty good collateral on that, right? Kind of breaking that down too, that we can share with the folks on the call, TMs and dealers, that I think you guys would really find valuable.
Mhm.
It's kind of breaking down like our assessment of what Eddie was just talking about, what Google kind of published regarding this, but also some key takeaways and things you can kind of start doing right now. So stay tuned for that.
Absolutely.
We'll follow up with a lot of that information. Um, Real quick, just a quick pulse check. I imagine that some of you have probably typed your name into ChatGPT or
Mhm.
Gemini just to see if you've shown up, right? Um, and that please, yes, that it happens. I just want everyone to know that those types of responses are very like tailored, so you may not show up. And we can get into it further down the line what that actually means, right? Um, but what's interesting about this slide, I just want to dive in a little bit here, right? Is kind of like a lead trend this is very specific, a lead trend by AI source. What you kind of see here, ChatGPT, because it's got the vast majority of market share, is absolutely leading the way. More leads are coming to home services companies and HVAC companies like yours from ChatGPT than any other platform. Um, Now, really important caveat here, and we'll talk about this on this next slide. But I want us to look at the kind of like lead volume comparison. Now, we talked about the value of these leads coming via like ChatGPT or other AI platforms. We know that it's set to become kind of like a new source, going into 2027. But we can't stress this enough. Right now, there's such a small fraction of total number of leads generated, right? So just look at May 2026. That's what you see on this chart right now. You see what is that? A million close leads, right? From more traditional sources. That's your Google Ads, Google LSA, business profile, organic search, right? Whereas you're looking at maybe 1,200 leads or so coming from all AI assistants, right? Now, again, very small fraction, and a change is eventually going to happen. We're expecting that. But going back to our point earlier, let's stick with our bread and butter, right? Let's stick with what got us here. Our portfolio came from these traditional lead sources, right? It's really, really important to keep that. We know that AI is this changing thing, and it's the new hotness, and it's really, really interesting. And we want to stay ahead of our competitors. But let's keep things relative right now. That's covering, and there may have been some leads outside of this study, but for the month of May, yeah, just 1,200 leads. Justin, I mean, what do you think about that, man?
I mean, it's definitely showing that there's a swing in this direction. Like we talked about earlier, we haven't that full migration like MySpace to Facebook. We're not there yet, but this shows that we're definitely in that trajectory. Also, there was the recent announcement with Apple that Siri is now going to be powered by Gemini. So we anticipate that Google Gemini kind of lead volume starting to increase even more with the utilization of like voice search through Siri. So definitely something we need to keep our finger on the pulse and just continue to watch the trends. But we're leaning in the direction that more and more leads are going to start populating through those LLM platforms.
Right. I mean, especially as like to your point, like a lot of these we're seeing some partnerships being formed in this space, right? Um, you see the headline there, Angie's bringing its home service marketplace directly to ChatGPT. Thumbtack is partnered with OpenAI. Yelp partners with OpenAI. And the reason that these things are important is one, to your point, Justin, we're going to see this shift continue to happen, especially as these partnerships are formed. But also, more from like a technical standpoint, we also have to be aware that any of these platforms, we have to make sure that we're consistent, making sure that we're updating, making sure that we are that we're visible and actually have a profile in any of these spaces, because we now know that probably any of those LLMs, the ChatGPTs, the Geminis, they're going to extract data, from those partners, from those platforms, and that might lead to a certain, visibility on their own platform, right? So really important that we stay in the know about these types of things as well. Um, this is a pretty important development as well. We talked about it, and we talked about it in Anaheim. We talked about it in New Orleans. We even talked about it in Wisconsin
Mhm.
for the Lennox Vision Tech series. Um, you know, Google has introduced a feature called Have AI Get Prices, and essentially what this does is before a homeowner ever picks up like the phone, Google's AI is going to actively browse contractor websites. It's going to try to extract pricing context or pricing information from your website, your service area, your availability, and it's essentially going to provide like a composite or like a comparison report that it's going to then email to that homeowner, right? Um, right now, it's very important. This is live for like plumbing, roofing, I think even kitchen remodeling. Um, it has not taken effect. I think we're getting some rumblings that this has taken effect in, I think, that the Columbus area that we've heard for
Yeah,
HVAC.
we've seen this start to roll out. I was just going to say Columbus being the exact example there. Myself and another colleague were in Columbus last week talking with some of the territory manager teams there and tested this, and it's fully
Yeah.
live there where the boss can call, get pricing, and showcase a couple providers to a homeowner before you guys as dealers even get the opportunity to talk to them.
Yeah. I mean, I did it for a plumber in one of my rental properties about 3 months ago now. Put in my zip code. They asked me a couple of like really like quick questions, just about like the nature of the problem. And they gave me some price estimates just in an email address from I think six dealers, six service people near me, all in kind of like my Land O'Lakes, Florida area. And it was fairly quick. I want to say within maybe like 6 to 8 minutes, something like that. And then I was able to honestly just there was like a CTA for each one, and I was able to just kind of click them and call and say, hey, I got this estimate from you. Similar to the way maybe like an Angie's List works, something like that, but it's a feature that's a native to Google. Hey, I see you came online, man. You want
Yeah,
to talk about like,
could you maybe talk a little more about so we have websites being read by machines, but it's actually triggering a voice AI to call your business and start
Mhm.
asking your employees about pricing. So am I right about that? So it'll actually trigger an AI agent, a CSR will pick up the phone in many cases,
yeah,
and it'll start asking questions about whatever service the the homeowner had asked about. And the CSR in many cases, particularly we've heard in roofing, plumbing, kitchen remodeling, like will often hang up on the Google bot, even though that's there, it's actually agentically representing like a homeowner and an active lead because they think it's spam. So, like, maybe just talk a little bit about that.
sure, yeah. I mean, this is something that I think we're really going to have to start thinking about as dealers, right, or as HVAC owners, once this actually comes into the fold for our particular industry. Um, what I've seen is, or what we know, these AI agents, they don't deal with kind of like these like vague responses very well, right? So if you don't have like a clear pricing go-to on either your website or through your CSR, you're at risk of not being found or not being cited when it comes to like when they bring back that kind of when they bring back that comparison report to that researcher, right? It's really important for us to define and kind of talk through and maybe like coach our CSRs on how to one, make sure that we're picking up the phone, of course, right? But when these AI bots call us, here's our go-to. Here's exactly what we're going to say to ensure that all of the answers they're asking us are properly answered. I'm sorry, all the questions they're asking us are properly answered. Um, we're gonna have to train them. I mean, that's just the reality of it. So let's make sure that we're kind of like publishing for ourselves, both with our CSRs and like online on our website, on our Google Business profile, on our our Yelp profile, right? A clear like pricing strategy, right? It doesn't have to be exact. From what I can tell, ranges seem to work. Um, define our service areas, make sure we train our CSRs to match exactly what the site says, so there's no real disconnect. And make sure we just keep everything up to date and current and really like consistent across. So yeah, it's just going to be really, really important for us guys.
I think, Tyreek, you've got some information as well on kind of the way that some of the LLMs are pulling pricing information comparison. So maybe we can show and talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so a colleague of mine actually kind of like did this. He did this like a price comparison via an LLM here. Now this is for the Tampa area. So what you're seeing on the screen here is an actual example of how these like price comparison kind of works inside an LLM. So um basically what the AI did, it made a comparison for my colleague. It's already ranked the contractors, like by how legible and transparent their content is, right? And look what he kind of inserted. So it says, how much should I pay for a 2.5 ton 18 SEER system in my specific like zip code? And what it came with was saying, hey, this is from what we could tell, or speaking as the AI, a fair install price, right? A good contractor is going to provide this like Sear for 8,500 to 1,100 bucks. Two stage or a premium brand is going to run you, up to 13,500. And then kind of like a variable speed system could even, net between 12,000 and 16,000 plus. Um, and it's what to kind of take from this, right? about this type of response is it's not just about being like cheapest or necessarily the biggest, but it's about being like very readable and very trustworthy to the AI so that you can be showcased, you can find it. What's also interesting is that you're getting a very like quote unquote like informed buyer, right? And so when they ultimately do call you, they may have a range that they already kind of have in their mind. And then we have to kind of think about, well, how do we control that narrative? And how do we actually respond to, this quote unquote very like informed buyer? Eddie, I see you came on stream, man. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to add the comment that, obviously there are a lot of factors that will influence these price range. And we've shown
Hmm.
this to contractors and they disagreed with it pretty
Yeah,
heavily.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but, agree or disagree, I think it's important to understand that they are seeing these ranges, and being
Hmm.
able to speak, if you do have a price outside of this range, being able to tell the kind of value story, both to the to the homeowner, and then also maybe on your website as to why your prices may be higher, and how that's justified through the quality of your install, through add-ons, warranties, whatever that happens to be. It's just that it's a new factor, to Tyreek's point, based on the level of education, or at least perceived education of the buyer, because as we all know, the LLMs are not 100% accurate, right? So
Correct. Correct. I mean, that's exactly it. So we have to start thinking about, I mean, you look at what's on the screen now, like a researcher comes back and they say, hey, I'm looking to get my unit replaced and I'm only looking to spend about 9 grand, right? And you say, okay, well, what factors into that? What's the size of your home? There's so many factors at play, and for someone to want something like under 9,000 bucks, in a particular area, a particular service area, might just not be feasible, might not be doable. So how do we actually like talk through? Do we lean on, and Justin, maybe you can talk about this. Do we lean on our expertise? Do we lean on our excellent service? Do we talk about, okay, it's not just about the steel, right? It's not just about the install. What are some of like these differentiating factors for the dealer to actually like showcase to that homeowner, that again, like kind of like perceived informed homeowner, right?
Yeah, I think this is where the dealer brings the most value to where they can educate that homeowner on the different scenarios and the whys. Anybody can do research and find a cheap price, let's be honest. If you
Hmm.
want to find something cheap, you will. But cheap isn't always better, specifically when it comes to like home comfort. So we want to make sure that the dealers are really educating the homeowner on why they recommended a specific piece of equipment, what's going into it, and then also leaning on to the service that they're going to provide that homeowner.
Yeah.
One thing the AIs can't tell a homeowner as of right now is the intangible. So how do you feel after that install was completed? Were you comfortable with your tech? Do you feel educated around this approximate $10,000 plus purchase? Because these are all emotional triggers that homeowners kind of go through when making a large purchase. So that this is where the contractor, regardless of what the AI shows, this is where the contractor can really set themselves apart from other potential contractors.
Right, right. So I mean, it's funny that we're kind of battling, or our dealers are battling like multiple fronts now, right? It's
Yep.
they were already kind of battling their competitors in some type of like race of they might, hopefully they don't indulge in this, but kind of like a race to the bottom type of thing,
Yeah.
right? But now you have these like an AI coming and saying, no, this is like the total price that you should go with. And you should bring this to your contractor and say, no, this is what you want it for, right? But it's just it makes it all the more important, this kind of like differentiation. So let's talk a little bit about this like gaining like competitive advantage. I know we're getting close on time, but we're in the final 15.
Yeah, so I think when we look at how do we optimize our businesses for success in this growing, changing landscape, um, knowing that we're talking a lot about AI, but like we said earlier on the call webinar, we don't want to remove our tried and true methods either. So there's a couple of things that you guys can do right now in your business with or without an agency's support to really kind of prep yourself for the way that AI is pulling in information, but also how Google pulls in information. So the first really area of opportunity is to optimize that Google business profile. If you've not claimed it, the first thing we should do is make sure we get that claimed and then optimize it, making sure that you're you've got your hours of operation consistent, making sure your service pages are set up so um, Google knows exactly what service do you provide, which also will go back to the LLMs when we talk about authority.
Mhm.
Second one being that name, address, phone number, NAP consistency. So that's exactly that. So making sure that your name is consistent across every single platform that is showcased on. And when I say your name, if it's heating and air as a part of me, or heating ampersand air, those all look different to the LMs and to Google. If your address has drive, DRIVE, or DR period, the
Yeah.
bots are looking at zeros and ones and they see those as two separate things, so they're not sure what to report on, so that they don't showcase it. So making
Yeah.
sure that's really kind of utmost of importance.
Yeah, not to cut you off, just real quick about that
Mhm.
one, Justin. Just to remind my father-in-law's company, on their website versus on their Facebook page, and then honestly, even just on a couple of different pages on their site, they would have 25 years plus of experience, and then they would have 35
Yeah.
years plus experience. Like, guys, we gotta get consistent here. Like, we gotta make sure that we are, we're covering every rock, because AI definitely is. So,
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about kind of building the brand, and that kind of goes into that a little bit more, but that's spot on. It's like being consistent across every platform is even more of importance now than it was a year ago. And that also goes into that next bullet of things that a contractor can do right now is creating local or content. So making
mm,
sure you've got your service area pages that focus on the neighborhoods and areas that you cover. If there's an opportunity to create like frequently asked questions sections, or providing seasonal guides on how to prep your system for the upcoming season, all of that goes a long way when it comes to both your Google rankings and how you get served in LLMs. And then we've talked about this earlier, and we'll talk about it again because it's important, but reviews. And not just positive reviews, every review in between. So getting into a cadence and building a system of asking for reviews after each and every job. And then not even that, like once that review comes in, how are you responding to that review? Making sure that you're thanking that customer if it's a positive experience. And if God forbid it's a negative experience, still replying, getting that conversation offline so that you can remedy it and then maybe move them over to a positive sentiment. All of those signals kind of showcase who you are as a contractor and your local presence, local authority. And the last is to not forget and not focus on social content and SEO kind of juice. So Instagram, Facebook, YouTube really remain like key channels for creating that brand footprint, that brand layer that's going to help the engines, AI agents, and Google's really understand like who are you, what service do you provide, and why should we show you over a nearby contractor.
yeah, cool, man. Let's
Yep.
move right up. Yeah.
And then as we kind of continue on, we've hit on this a couple times, but your database, your current customers are the highest likelihood for success and are really your gold mine here. So Um, that's your past customers, past leads. Anybody you've ever talked to or been in the home of, you should be marketing to them in some way, shape, or form. Um, there's a stat right there on the top that says it costs 5 to 25 times more to acquire a new customer than to retain one. And you guys probably understand this. You probably have gone into multiple homes and given bids and maybe not won that business. That's time and money. So if you can continue to kind of get in front of that database on a consistent manner, you're going to win that even further. And there's a couple ways that we can go about marketing to that database specifically. Um, we've seen a lot of great success with email campaigns. So this is monthly touch points, newsletters, reminders on maintenance. If we'll talk about maintenance programs in a second. Um, and then if you've got any exclusive offers, this is a great way to kind of keep it in front of homeowners. And just think about how you guys, how homeowners interact with other big brands. They are accustomed to getting email campaigns with promotions, offers, updates, or information. So you're not interrupting a space that's already not kind of been tapped into. And then we move into that second one, which is really your text message, your SMS. This is a great channel for appointment reminders, alerts, filter reminders, or as a tool to follow up um, with a homeowner after you've done that bid.
Right.
Because the last thing you want to do is spend time in the home and then lose out on the opportunity because you didn't follow up with them, or maybe your email got lost. Sorry.
Yeah. You know what's so funny about that, Justin? Like I said, I own a couple of rental properties, and I use the same HVAC company to one of my maintenance agreements, right, for each one of the properties. Um, and what's often overlooked is a lot of dealers will focus on like new customers or new installs, right? Installs is the way. And it's like, well, actually, if you activate your database, one, you can get them on maintenance agreements. Two, you do all the maintenances, right? And you get money from that. But also, when time comes, if they're brand loyal and you've been doing, really working with them enough, doing the right things by them, you then that ultimately becomes an install, right? Like I've gotten, especially with the hurricanes and everything a couple of years ago, I got both of the properties new installs done because I had been with them, for the couple of years prior. They had been servicing me. And I just my allegiance is just with them. So they've gotten quite a bit of money from me over the last several years,
Right.
honestly. You know. So yeah, it just made I mean, yeah, can't stress this enough. It's like let's market to and like activate this database. It's not of course, we want to do all the things well. We want to attract new customers and all that, but also this is really important. So, um, let's talk
Just
about.
yeah,
Sorry, go
go. I
ahead,
would say
Justin.
maybe let's move into kind of the next section.
Yeah, let's talk about branding and how you kind of build your brand everywhere.
Yeah, and we've already kind of hit on a lot of these points, but when we talk about your brand isn't just your logo, it's how you represent yourself in the community, how you represent yourself online. And Google and the LLMs like ChatGPT, Perplexity are really starting to favor those brands that they feel are really in market, they're present, they understand what's going on. So that's keeping everything consistent, like we talked about earlier with Tyreek's father-in-law, where it's 25 versus 35 years. Like we need to make sure all of our information, our tone is consistent across all the different channels. Um, Focusing on user-generated content. So this is like that happy customer. Like take a photo the before and after of the job, post it onto your social, post it onto your Google business profile. These are all strong signals. Um, Engaging within your local community. So not just your online, but are there Facebook groups that you can join? Do you have a presence in Nextdoor? Are you sponsoring a local little league team or youth soccer? So all of those community engagements really help build a very strong brand, which is going to, in the end, kind of help you guys showcase and be seen more across Google and the LLMs.
Eddie, we're gonna lean on you, man, for a little bit about
Yeah,
this. This is the concept that you love, right?
yeah. I'll take this one. So, Precision Local, one thing that we say is that funnels in, flywheels keep going. So we take what is considered a marketing technologies flywheel approach, where we combine channels, integrated marketing technologies, lead handling technologies. What happens after the lead, hits your inbox? How can we automate that? How can we help you prioritize your lead, speed the lead, and really try to create a system where we attract, convert, retain, and even create referrals through your database to get more leads in business. So the idea is that the flywheel keeps going, doesn't stop. It generates its own momentum, and every great review, referral, and repeat visit that adds speed, it adds credibility, and it continues to build up your marketing presence in a way that focusing on one single channel like Google Ads or LSA or the Facebook or Yelp or something, you just can't create that kind of momentum because when you put all this stuff together, you put SEO, technology, all these ad channels, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and it drives better results at the end of the day.
Love that
Spot
concept,
on.
man. Um, sorry, I'm gonna go forward here. There we go. All right, real quick key takeaways, guys. We don't want to take up too much of these guys' time. So, all right, the first thing, right? Create a marketing game plan. There are unique channels that we can utilize to address all of our four buyer types, right? So that let's work together to kind of actually devise those plans. AI search is very real, right? It may not be the overwhelming source of leads right now, but we know it's on the way. And it's paying, $5,500, $6,000 ticket. So let's prepare, in the best way that we can currently. Build your website, your reviews, your brand consistently everywhere. They're going to affect your visibility just to your entire market, but of course, those even online and an AI search. Um, publish a pricing strategy. Make sure your AI agents are trained against that. We are going to remember talking about that kind of like have AI get pricing feature. And then finally, one of the things for us, like, please feel free to contact us, get a market fit analysis. We also have an AI assessment tool that you can take yourself, and kind of get a gauge of where you are in your preparedness when it comes to AI. It'll spit back some really like quick actionable steps for you as well, depending on the kind of like stage that you're in, how you can improve. And if you would like to talk through any of that, please contact us. Finally, we are going to hit here to this Q&A section. I don't know how much time we have, just a couple minutes here, it looks
Yeah,
like.
we got a few minutes.
Yeah, please submit your questions. I have not been monitoring. I think Eddie has.
Yeah.
And then if you want to talk with us, please, there is a QR code you can scan right there. And we can talk with you and answer any questions that you may have, get you set up for a market fit analysis, take the AI assessment with you, any of those things. Please feel free.
Yeah. Okay, so we have gotten a few questions. First one, it looks like is we're slammed right now with installs and service calls, so congratulations. It's already been hot. Is there a realistic way to work on marketing during peak season without it becoming another full-time job? I'll hand that over to you guys so you can answer that.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
we had this conversation, I think, what, 2 weeks ago, where it was
Yeah.
like, okay, what should we lean on? Like, what should our dealers kind of be doing? I think you had some really good suggestions on that, so I'll let you take the lead there.
Yeah, no problem. And to your point, we've been talking with contractors and internally a lot about this. We understand peak of season, you guys are busy. This not be the most opportune time to get new tactics and channels into market, but this is an excellent time to focus on your database and building up that database. How are you marketing to it and capturing as much data as possible? So this is where asking for those reviews now is the time. You're going to be in homes a little bit more frequently, so let's increase that review velocity. And then in the background, working on the overall infrastructure of your website and the content. Now is a great time to really focus on that SEO value. Are there areas of optimization needed on your website? This is where having a conversation with an agency like ours or others kind of comes into play because we can do a deep dive into the website, the setup of the website, and provide some kind of actionable takeaways for what you could be doing now to prep as you move into kind of the fall season once we get through like the really heavy busy season. I think the other area of opportunity is like we talked about earlier is now is an even more important time to make sure that Google Business Profile is claimed, optimized, and set up. And that's not something that's going to take a tremendous amount of time, but yields a tremendous amount of value.
All right, good answer. Another question that popped up here is what's the one thing a dealer can do right now if they want to start showing up in ChatGPT or other AI search tool?
Yeah, I'll take that one. If it's composed down to maybe one thing, um, I would say get a pricing range page up. Um, Typically, when people are researching these things using these platforms, it seems like, yeah, they want to get at least an idea or get a baseline understanding of what the ultimate cost might be, right? So that is probably is the same for any other more traditional SEO tactic. That would probably be my suggestion. Guys, do you defer from that? Do you have maybe other, like if you had to pick one?
I think from our perspective, everything that we're learning and seeing, I think that's kind of the biggest takeaway. As much as we know it's scary to put pricing on pages, but I think you can put ranges and then
Yeah,
what's included within those ranges with a strong asterisk or disclaimer saying that this is just a beginning range. We'll come up with a customized opportunity and plan for your home once we're able to assess how big your home is. Do you have the right system in place? Do we need to do any other modifications? So making sure that you're getting as much opportunity to be in the home as possible with this LLM search kind of
yeah.
shift.
Is that air handler in a closet? Is what I would
Right.
ask. Is that those are some difficult ones, man. Speak from
Yeah.
experience. Betty,
You
sorry, go
know,
ahead.
one other thing I'd probably look at that may even be more fundamental than pricing is I feel like that's going to be in some cases a hard mountain to climb for some contractors because it involves like really sitting down and evaluating like how my price against the market, am I even priced right now on service? I think doing an evaluation of your service pages and your local pages that you have on your website is probably brass tacks gonna help you understand or having, whoever does your web marketing or your SEO. Because really, if you have a really simple website without a lot of pages and you're not You don't have a lot of your services individually listed. So let's just say you have heating, cooling, and maintenance, and that's it. And you have all your repair stuff and your install stuff, and it's all on one page. And then you don't have a lot of pages that are specific for the local cities and townships that are in your service area and your market. You really need to start working on building out content for your website immediately that is probably even higher priority than pricing. And then additionally, things like FAQs. I know Google removed FAQ as a schema, but they're still getting cited by LLMs. What are the questions that consumers are asking all the time out in the field from your technicians? Figure out how to incorporate that into your website.
Mhm.
Pair that to those three pillars, your local pages, the questions that are being asked, and then what Tyreek and Justin are suggesting with the pricing strategy. And I think you're already kind of on the path to not just AI visibility, but SEO visibility. Those are really important. And then, pair that all up with your Google business profile and all that stuff. Because if you don't have your citations, you don't have that set up, you don't have a claimed Yelp profile, all that stuff, you're really kind of missing all of that extra visibility that you can get out there. Okay, so we got one more. This one's from Leanne. If ChatGPT is king, how can we influence directly? Is there a place to upload my business info weekly, like GBP? I would say, unfortunately, no. Right now, there's no like easy submit box where you can submit
Mhm.
to ChatGPT the way that you can, Leanne, with Google, because that's Google Business Profile is a very convenient, like, how do I, like, let me give this to you right now, Google. And then there's also the search console where you can submit sitemaps, etc. I would say, the things that we just discussed are a good start.
Mhm.
I would also look at things like putting what is called an LLMS.txt on your website. Again, I'm not suggesting you do that, but whoever handles your website, Google has sent mixed signals about that, where they say it's not important, but then again, they've also added it into their Lighthouse tool as a way of evaluating performance on a website. So, are they getting our LLMS.txt's silver bullet, or are they even getting cited a lot right now by these tools? No. But, I think right now the goal should be to prepare for these tools to really kind of get into kind of a web standard. So that seems to be the trend. So I would say content development, citations, reviews. Don't forget reviews because that's very, very powerful. Claiming all of your profiles. This stuff will help to build up your credibility for these tools. And then you're more likely to get cited by a tool like ChatGPT, if that makes any sense. And that,
Right.
not to shamelessly self-promote, but that's also something Precision Local can help you with in terms of general search visibility. We do have some pretty affordable SEO services. And in fact, if you're a Lennox dealer, we even have some cool kind of discounts and deals we can give you.
Makes sense. Well, great. Guys, thanks so much, Eddie and Justin, for joining me on this, man. Good conversation. Hopefully the folks on, they also received a ton of information. Hopefully they found it very valuable. Thanks for spending time with us. And if you have any additional questions, please, again, that QR code is right there. Scan it,
Yeah.
submit your questions, get a coordinated time with us. We can talk through any of this stuff further with you.
Yeah, and we'll do an AI assessment, or let's talk to one of our experts. Happy to answer questions in a one-on-one environment as well.
Yep.
Thanks,
We're
everybody.
here to help you
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
Thank you.